Hey, everybody. As you can see, we've got a full house here. This is Fandom Entanglement, Quantum Leap crossing over with the Quantum Leap podcast, Quantum Leap After Show. I am Damon Sugamelli. We got Mike Bloxam, MJ Cogburn, and Brian Green, who is basically both shows. So, and then Albie, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Albie from the Quantum Leap Podcast, Quantum Leap After Show, and of course we have Hayden, who is
coming
always
to you almost live from the island of Sodor,
and John Irons from Captain Game Show and Quantum Leap Podcast, Quantum Leap After Show, and I'm going to introduce Brian again because he's ours too.
Yeah,
Brian Green, all the way from Ohio. How you doing, Brian?
Close, but not quite.
North Carolina.
And then
and we're
Hayden,
also joined. We're also joined by my good friends from the Starbright Projects podcast, Aaron Moss and Michelle Moss.
Hello,
Who'd
everybody.
like to go first?
Hello.
and then we have my co-host from Laserdisc Flips, Andrew. Oh, he's gone.
Yes, we don't.
So close.
There we go.
There he
okay.
is.
And of course, we have my co-host from Laserdisc Flips, the Laserdisc podcast. It's Andrew.
Hello, hello.
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 You also have a
Hello.
Quantum Leap podcast, Andrew, don't you?
Oh yeah, I do. PQL, the Pew, PQL, the Quantum Leap podcast. I host it with my sister and my wife. The whole hook is that we are three varying levels of fans. I'm the moderate, my sister's the fanatic, and my wife had never seen it before the new series.
Just don't ever tell her to put a pin in it and you'll be okay.
All right, so I think I'm gonna talk about because we're doing a 2-episode thing here. Season 2, episodes 12, As the World Burns, and 13, Against Time. I'll lead the first episode, and Albie I think is gonna lead the second one. Okay, so these both aired. Original air date February 20th, 2024. For As the World Burns, Ben leaps into the body of a Baltimore firefighter in 1974 and is unexpectedly reunited with his time-crossed love, Hannah, and her son, Jeffrey. Trapped in a towering inferno, Ben must find a way to repair their troubled relationship and save their lives before it's too late. I'm not going to go through the main cast because we know who everybody is, but our guest stars are James Frain as Gideon Ridge, Wyatt Parker as Jeffrey Nally. I don't remember what age he is at this point. Philip Anthony Rodriguez as Chief Garcia. Marinaz Mohammadi, am I saying that right? I have no idea. As Alicia. This was written by Benjamin Rabb and Derek A. Hughes. Directed by Pamela Romanowski. The leap date, no specific leap date, 1974, but we're in Baltimore, Maryland, and Ben has leaped into Captain Otis Burton. So who's going first with their impressions? We got a lot of people.
The Albie. Now that's how you do a synopsis.
Yeah, that was good. I'm going to watch his show from now on and just copy it.
It changes from week to week, so you never know where he's going with it.
We're trying to get through this quick, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Jeffrey's 11 at this point. Just to your point, Damon.
Is he? Yeah, I lost.
Yeah.
I lost track. I don't know.
Time travel, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'll just say these 2 episodes felt like what I think all the Quantum Leap fans wanted this series to be when they found out it was going to be relaunched and end up being a continuation of the original series, but with a lot of integration with the actual project. It really feels like everyone who makes the show was listening heavily to my bitching and finally gave me what I want. Yes, I'm well aware that they filmed it, months in advance, but hey, it's a time travel show. It doesn't have to be linear.
And you're in the future, so that works
Exactly.
out.
That's true.
And when you're dabbling with theoretical business, it all works out in
Mhm.
the long run.
Well, I'll agree with Hayden. I loved both of them. the As the World Burns. I love the fight effects. I like the story. I loved Hannah. I like the twist with Jeffrey being a little bit older and seeing how all that's starting to play out. And so I'll give it 2 thumbs up. If I had 3, probably add another one. Wait, I do have 3. You can't see that one.
I thought I was the man with 3 thumbs.
I really dig the more high intensity episodes where there's higher stakes. To borrow a phrase from other genres, Monster of the Week is fun, and I do enjoy having that happen. But you got to end cap it with higher stakes. As it is a drama, you need that drama to stay enticed. Not necessarily hardcore fans, because they'll probably watch it anyway, but to gain a wider audience, you need to have those cliffhanging mystery box dramas to make the masses want to turn it back on next week or next season.
Mm-hmm.
I think these 2 episodes really delivered
that out. They keep leaving the next leap in out, and they need to put it back in, because if they don't, they're going to lose all those people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They definitely felt the most like the original Quantum Leap series, which is quite ironic considering, especially the second episode, as very minimally actually at the leap. So yeah, I just found that really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was weird. As the World Burns 212, being that 212 and 213 aired back to back, I don't have a feeling about As the World Burns as much. I feel like it's more of like the beginning of the whole longer episode for me. So it's hard for me because I didn't have a chance to reflect on it before the next episode came up.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the Hannah stuff. I enjoyed the adventure, but I really don't see it as a separate thing, which is difficult for me right now.
It really did feel like an act 1 and not like an entire story, which, may have been the intent, and that's why they did both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I feel like it could have been a standalone, kind of like the Leap Home and then the Leap Home Part 2 Vietnam, were 2 completely different leaps. You could watch them separately. You could watch them a week apart and not have a problem. But they bundled them together. And you're right, Albie. It's hard to really have solid feelings about the first episode. I feel the same way.
I did, however, feel vindicated. I think I know no one here has probably seen every episode of my podcast, but I said almost very early, I think the second time we saw Hannah and we knew that she was a recurring character and we knew she was interested in physics, I was very vindicated that I called out, she writes the code to bring Ben home.
I called it too.
Yeah. And although that doesn't seem to be, well, this is supposed to be just 12, right? So maybe I don't want to say how that ends up until we do episode 13, but it felt good to actually see one of my predictions be accurate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it happened in this one where we found that out. So where she's in the what is it, in the ash that she was doing the code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I do feel like we can probably
dust.
talk about because especially since they aired them both the same night. I feel like if you've seen one, you've seen them both.
Sure.
I think we can talk about both.
And like Albie said, they are very much tied together. So it's hard to talk about one without the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them both as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, and obviously no one wants this to be the end of the series, but I like that the way they did it wrapped up. It was a season finale, but in doing so, they also went all the way back to the beginning of the show. And they pulled in elements from season 1 where they laid the groundwork for things that you didn't really find that significant at the time. But they crafted everything really well to balance out all the elements of, like you said, the elements of the particular leap as well as the overarching story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like the callback to it was with the flashback to. Well, the first one was when we saw him go back to Judgment Day and bump into her for the first time, and Hannah, because Hannah was saying about love is timeless. So, yeah, and then
you can I watched it again tonight, and you can see when she says that to him in 212, that's when it clicks for her. like you can see the look on her face. She's like, oh, that's now I've solved the equation. It was really subtle, but
Right.
it was in there.
Yeah. Did anybody else think of the show timeless when she said that? Or was it-
Absolutely.
Yes.
Instantly.
Yes.
Nah.
Yes.
I think I only saw like one episode of it, but it was like I know that's on my radar at some
Oh,
point.
you got to watch it.
Yeah.
Good show. That was a good
Yeah.
show.
It is a really good show.
Yeah.
You should add it to fandom.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
It's got a
Yeah.
beginning, middle, and an
Maybe at
end, and
some
it's
point.
well written and well acted.
Where the heck is that? Is that streaming on now, or what is it on? It's
I imported the Blu-rays from
I don't know.
Australia.
mm, yeah.
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're very rare. It is streaming on, I think, it's an NBC show,
says,
right? So
it
should
says
be.
Hulu.
Probably. Yeah.
But they are different.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
streaming versions are different than the original airs. They cut some stuff out.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
So Blu-ray.
Yeah. Well, the episode basically kind of began with Magic saying his goodbyes, and I think we all kind of knew that he'd be back. It
Yeah.
felt like a goodbye, but I also know he's coming back.
Where was the bonsai tree? I'm back on that.
He had some other half-dead plant in there that
You know, I knew he would be back because everybody didn't come and gather around to say goodbye to the head of the project the way that everybody came to say hello to Tom when he showed up. I'm like, come on.
So he's magic.
Give Magic his respect.
He's magic. He's their daddy. Of course, he's not going to leave him hanging.
Yeah.
I saw people online that were actually still confused after the 213 aired. And like, did we lose him? Is he not going to be there? Like, no, he's still here. He's still with
We
us.
were standing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I guess they must have missed that
The end.
last
15 minutes of
couple
it.
minutes.
I don't even remember what I Googled, but I Googled something like the next day about Ernie Hudson or magic. And it was like, why did Ernie Hudson leave Quantum Leap? And then the Google answer was like an episode synopsis where they no longer refer to him as Ernie, but instead magic. I was like, did people not watch the episode?
They're
Probably
just getting
not.
the score. They're keeping up with the score.
Yeah.
Not sure who won or lost which universe.
yeah.
I did like Wyatt Parker's performance in 212. It was really good.
Yes.
No,
It
he
was
was
a way to
great.
bring us into
Yeah.
the story.
Again,
Oh,
both
yeah, it was
did
really good,
well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think everyone picked that he grew up to be Gideon. I think everyone had that in mind.
Yeah.
I found it kind of strange that he had such a big chip on his shoulder, though.
It almost didn't seem. Sorry.
No, go on.
I was saying it almost didn't seem like a big enough motivation for him to be so evil.
Yeah, and I mean,
how he couldn't see he got extra time, not that he was taken away.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean,
a little bit.
But you
Yeah,
gotta
wouldn't it have
think of
been
it
in the-
as a kid's view? A kid's
Yeah.
view is going to say, "You took my dad away, and that's it."
yeah.
Mhm.
For sure. But then in episode 12, when he goes through all the stuff of helping him mourn his father, and then Gideon is not a child, like at what point did he not, what caused him to not grow up? Because clearly he did grow up, but he grew up evil because his father died. I mean, a lot of kids' fathers die. I
think
mean,
every kid's
everybody's
father
fathers
is.
die
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Everybody,
on that same token, though, you have kids whose parents die and they become drug addicts. They become, there's kids who have been touched inappropriately and they now contributed to why they do that. There's gonna be excuses for everything. And you gotta remember this is a TV show that has time travel. So to me, an evil villain, that was created, it's fitting. It's just, it felt a little over the top, but it still was fitting for, I feel like, the genre of the show.
I just wish there was a little bit more in the motivation for him becoming so just
Well,
reprehensible.
he also found the letter from Ben, saying that he loves Hannah, and I mean that contributed to it also. He kind of blames Ben for that maybe Ben could have done more to save his father.
And Andrew, I agreed with you.
Yeah.
Andrew, I agreed with you until Ben Ben and Jeffrey had that conversation when Jeffrey was older and he was the hologram, and just James Frain's performance and the writing of that monologue, it convinced me totally. Like I bought it. I bought why he became a villain.
Definitely both Jeff's great performance. I mean, the kid, great actor to make me hate him so much. Like that's good acting. He was good. So yeah, obviously no hate on the actors for sure.
Right.
But yeah, I still just wish there was a little more behind the motivation.
Well, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in our like previously that like I think if they had more episodes, they could have maybe explored this a little bit more. That maybe is the drawback to only having the 13 episodes, because I wanted to see more of James Frain too, and we like barely got him.
Right.
You know, they could have fleshed out his character a bit more.
But if you compare Gideon to Leaper X, it's way more developed. Like Leaper X was like, well, they told me to do it. Like that's pretty much normal. That was it. That's all you get. So, and I don't necessarily agree with you. I think it was fleshed out enough. Like you said, Michelle, it was fleshed out enough for the type of show that this is.
And I can see Gideon,
but definitely comparing it to season 1.
He became rich overnight as a kid, and then he had his dad ripped away from him, and he discovered that Ben was the reason. And even in the monologue in 213 at the beginning, he says, "You interfered." So it seems like he's kind of transferred this into Ben's interfering in the past, and he doesn't want anything to do with it, and he wants to change some things. So he's just developed this whole person. He's kind of a man-child anyway, as we saw even in a couple episodes before that. He's sitting at the desk, he's playing with the pendulum balls and everything.
Right.
So
and how much could you also say that, how much she, as far as, did she even really address it with her son? You got to think of that too. Like she had that letter and he found the letter. And then there's people also who blame themselves for loved ones' deaths. And, people write their own stories in their heads. And this is one of those things where maybe there was some chemical imbalance or something where he actually manifested so much anger and hate that he was able to take that and just push it all towards what was going on with like Ben.
Well, he had a lot of trauma, and you got to remember that he needs to find some kind of coping mechanism just to be able to keep going. So I suppose, channeling all his hatred into his work and trying to have this ultimate goal of stopping Ben, it's probably it sounds kind of strange, but stopped him from going completely over the edge, if that makes sense. Yeah, he went into supervillain territory, but at the same time, he was still somewhat functional, if that makes sense. So it was his coping mechanism.
And Brian reminded me that with his monologue about Ben changing time, I think he also blames Ben for his father dying at all, because Ben started mucking with time, and the ripple effects is what causes, again, in his mind, the ripple effects is what causes his father to die the first time. And then he comes along, he finds this letter saying, I always yours or whatever, Ben, and finds that his father dies again. All my love, thank you. And his father dies a second time. And I think Gideon blames Ben for everything because he feels, wrongly so, I'm assuming, but if Ben hadn't left through time to begin with, his father wouldn't have died at all, or until maybe he's an old man. But I think he's mistakenly blaming Ben for everything. Not again, and when people have a tragedy, especially young like that, they don't have the reason, if you will, in their head to reason out and say, I did get this extra time with my dad. He's looking at the negative aspect and blame, like you guys have said, you got to blame somebody.
And I will say this, we just covered this in 7th grade science. The prefrontal cortex is not developed when you are a teenager and will not be developed until you're in your late 20s, mid 20s. And that is the prefrontal cortex is the one that actually does your emotions and all of that. So that probably, and as a boy, sometimes they're not as developed as females. So you've got that in the mix as well. So it could be all of those things are part of the reason why he became an evil villain.
I was just thinking of something Ben could have done to actually help negate that. He didn't have to address the letter to be delivered at the time frame it was, right? He could have had it delivered, say, the week that she met John. That way, it doesn't look like she's cheating on him. It looks like a former lover. That could have been a decision Ben should have
former
made.
lover who knows this new guy's heart condition.
I mean, there's still weirdness about it, but the whole
Yeah.
exactly it's the cheating aspect that it looked like that caused him to drive off into the rain, right? Out of anger and spite. If it was an older letter that had not arrived square in the middle of their relationship, it could have been a very different result.
Or maybe he couldn't have signed it off, "All my love."
Yeah, or that,
Maybe Hannah should have just burned the letter after she read it. How about that?
Right.
Also true.
Yeah.
Hannah does like to burn things, so it's atypical that she didn't burn it. You would expect her
she
to
got the
burn.
photographic memories. It's never gone from her.
Maybe Ben put some cologne on it, and she just wanted to keep that around.
It is her only physical, tangible item, though. His handwriting.
I'm thinking Jeffrey's perspective from being 8 years old, probably when his dad died the second time in our timeline, and just that affecting you and having something to hold on to of the reason why, because it's not, and I don't think once you have that, I don't think you're ever going to change that. You're not going to in your lifetime think, okay, this guy killed my father, and then at some point be okay with him. That's going to be difficult. And then when you add on, when he figures out when he's 11 that his mom is kind of cheating on his dad and that had something to do with his dad's death, I think that would turn anybody into a maniacal villain.
I can't remember who the interview was with, and I think it was on like the Quantum Leap podcast, but maybe with Drew, maybe. And he said, like, you gotta, from Jeffrey's perspective, like Ben is the boogeyman. He just shows up in random people in his life and makes out with his mom. Fair point.
And his mom likes it. So that's even worse. Yeah.
And all he has to say is her name.
Yeah. Hannah.
Oh, yeah.
That was an amazing look.
The look.
I was going to say the look is definitely a part of it.
In 212, when Hannah realizes it's Ben, that look, it just says everything.
Yeah. And she asks if, do I look any older?
Yeah.
Weirdly, no, you don't.
Not at all.
Not really.
And even says that.
Had to suspend my disbelief there.
Yeah. It's like, well, I can tell you're wearing more powdery makeup. And that's supposed to be the age.
It's a smolder.
I did like these two episodes. It really felt like they were leaning into the quantum leapness of the series. We got a lot more use of the hologram. We didn't really see any hologram effects, but we got a lot more use of what a hologram could actually do, like going off and exploring where Ben couldn't, like keeping watch when Ben couldn't, those sort of things.
Yeah.
I thought it was really nice.
Through Gideon.
Yeah,
that was good.
That. Yeah, I liked the fact that Hannah knew that Addison was there, and that scene where she wrote out the code that Addison was watching, I thought was really cool. And that's exactly what you would want the hologram to be doing. You'd want the hologram to be scouting and trying to get all the necessary information. So we've been asking for this for so long, get it feeling like Quantum Leap again. So it was really refreshing to actually see it.
Yeah. That was a nice,
we got
almost a little bit of foreshadowing.
That were even better. I put some of the screen caps on Alice Plays Episode Guide, but the actual effect of her fading out is more of a fiery. It's kind of real thick and it's close up, so it was pretty cool to see in a couple of those shots.
I was saying that's a nice little bit of a foreshadowing too, like assuming we get a season 3, if we get a season 3, of how it might play out when you do have two leapers at the same time. This person does that person does that.
Right.
I had a quick question from maybe some more deeper lore knowledgeable people. when Addison is behind with Hannah, what is the range on the imaging chamber, right? Like how Ben was quite far away, right? How like, for instance, when I can't remember the name of the episode, but when Sam's in that Egypt dig and Al can't even go to the next room because the lights aren't on and it can't be seen or whatever. This is quite far from Ben, right? So what is the range of that room? Do we have any idea?
Yeah,
well,
that's a good
it
question.
doesn't seem like there ever actually was any limit to the range, though, because, like, think about Another Mother. This was the first time that Sam did get Al to go and scout for him, and Al was able to go and follow the teenage boy around way away from Sam, while Sam was stuck at the house.
That's right. School.
Yeah. So it just seems like the leaper has to be in that time period, and then they've got whatever access they need to be able to monitor anything in that time.
That makes sense.
It would be interesting to see what the limits actually could be. Speaking of Tahotep, the reason he couldn't see was because there was no light in there. It wasn't so much that he was too far away. It was just it was completely dark.
He
Although
did see something because he came running back in and going, "Oh my God,
why couldn't he use his hand link as a torch? I don't understand why he couldn't do that." Yeah,
right.
He's got a light. Yeah.
Going off of wishing we had seen more of things, I do wish we had seen. There are a few episodes in the original series where someone can see Sam as Sam, whether it be the brainwaves are linked or like the children's just in the right channel or whatever, or like I think, was there an instance of someone who was autistic? Oh yeah, the dog. It would
and
be
also
nice
the mentally ill people.
Yeah, mentally ill.
Yeah, autistic. And it would have been nice to have someone seen Ben for Ben. That would have been fun to play with.
I was wondering if they were going to do that when Hannah was trapped, like if she was losing consciousness or whatever, like she's maybe kind of loopy.
I had the same thought.
Near-death people are supposed to be able to see Sam. And
yeah,
would have been really good.
Yeah.
I think I'm glad I was kind of hoping that they would do it, but I think I'm glad that they didn't. I like it better the way they did it. But
there's possibility that Hannah was seeing Addison because she knew that Addison was there. So yeah, that's possible.
Did anybody actually think that she was gonna? Because I wasn't sure.
Maybe
she was gonna die.
I thought she was gonna die.
I thought
I did
because a couple of times they had her coffin after the smoke and they had the thing on her.
Yeah, coffin's bad. I was spoiled from Raymond's Instagram. They were showing behind the scenes stuff of him carrying Hannah through the fire. So I knew she wasn't going to die under the beam in the fire. So that kind of spoiled that for me.
Because you hadn't seen that scene yet. So you knew that scene was coming up.
Yeah.
Right.
The only caveat being like it could have been a deleted scene.
That in previews too.
Yeah, that's true.
Him carrying her.
Yeah, somehow I didn't think they were going to be that cruel to kill off Ben's love interest and Jeffrey's mother and just make him even more evil in the future.
Well,
it would have been more believable if she had died.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if it was Gideon's fault, then it would have turned Ben so angry it would have been like evil Ben. That would have been good.
that moment where he's carrying her, it's like something out of like one of those like slow motion superhero like dun, 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 that's what I'm thinking of. That and when they're with the makeshift shields going through, like pushing through, it's like yeah.
I really love the Star Trek references in the episode. That was good.
Yeah. He tasks me. Tasks me and I shall have him. Chase around the moons of Nibia. Like, are you quoting Moby Dick? Like, no.
No, that's not Moby Dick.
It is, but
yeah.
I cracked up laughing at that.
That threw me out of it for a minute was when he's busting down the door and he comes in and he's just mad as fire. Like he gave the guy 4 seconds to answer the door. I was like, this is a little off.
They set the fire. It's their fault. I'm with them.
But he also axed the door and then didn't put his hand through to open it. He just ended up pushing it to open anyway. So what was the point of axing the door?
Exactly.
He was angry about something.
He was just pissed off.
I felt like a deleted scene was in there somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, and then the callback to "Courage is a Choice," which that's kind of what set off Jeffrey. Like, where did you hear that from? So I knew that was gonna. I kind of knew that was gonna come back and bite him in the butt. I mean, it's still a cool scene, but I knew as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh, that's not good.
I liked seeing some of the stuff from Jeffrey's perspective. Like he was seeing the Leapees and they were acting out those scenes that he saw from his point of view with the Leapees actually. I thought
like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like that too.
Yeah.
Watching the confusion set in on the firefighter.
Yes.
What am I doing here? Why am I hugging you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they only showed that once with Martinez coming back, and was on the ship, right?
Yeah.
And then the other guy came back. That's the
Yep.
only other time we saw that. So
I don't know if I was a firefighter and I just was back. I just go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you think so? Hannah calculated like, okay, well, this is going to be the last time we see each other, but then it's not the last time we see each other. So, do you think Hannah's math was wrong, or do you think something changed, like some variable changed, and GTFW whatever gave him one more leap so that they could reset Jeffrey?
I wonder if she died originally.
I thought she died, yeah.
Oh, maybe. Oh, okay.
But then Ben saved her because Addison said it's either Jeffrey or Hannah. And then he went to rescue Jeffrey, but still had time to get Hannah in the end after all.
Ben
I didn't think about that.
refuses to
That's
accept
true.
fate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ben always seems
like
to
it.
pick option 3 when he's given 2 options.
Yeah.
All right.
Or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it they said that when they first
But
met?
then again, Sam did that too.
Yeah.
On our podcast, we always call that the quality of the leaper, and that's why Ben had to be the one to go in the chamber. The same reason, because he has those qualities that Sam had.
Right.
Right.
Almost down to a T.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're pretty much. What?
The missing
What was
T
that?
at the end of Mirror Image.
Oh. I mean, we pretty much like talking about that first half. I don't know if you want to just really get into like all the real good stuff from Against Time. I mean, yeah, I can't think of anything else. The only other thing I would say was I think it was mentioned in one of the interviews on Quantum Leap podcast that they said that last scene when him taking over actually was written as the first scene of the last episode because it felt like it. Because they were like short on time or something. Right? I think Chris and Allison said that in the interview or something.
Yeah. I think the director and writer both said that. So
yeah.
But it's weird that I felt like there was that deleted scene. What made Ben so angry when he was bursting into that door? But they filled it with stuff from the next episode instead of that. But who knows?
Yeah.
It's all done quickly. But I really enjoyed it. I would probably give As the World Burns probably a 5 Ricardo Montalban monologues.
It's a good one.
Is anyone not giving it a perfect score?
I'm
not.
think so.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay, so we already know
4.5.
everyone's rating.
Okay.
At this point, I think I've seen it
No.
3 or 4 times, and I did see a couple of upon anything watching it over and over. I was like, actually, that kind of doesn't make any sense. Why so and so? But it no, this is under insane scrutiny, so I'm good with it.
So you all need to do it me. I only ever watch it once so that it feels like real water cooler talk. Yeah, it's like you watch it once, you go to the water cooler and talk to your co-workers about what you saw. If you watch it too much, then you're just going to overanalyze everything and hate it. So
I didn't hate it, but I definitely overanalyzed
I didn't hate it.
I wouldn't say overanalyze it. It was fine.
And
it was fine.
Usually I'm the one in our group that goes, this is wrong with this episode. This is wrong with this episode. This is wrong. Why the hell did they do it this way? And everybody else loves it. So I'm usually the one that's.
Yeah.
than
Well, I
they
think
say.
I'm in the dissent
But
this
I
time,
think this
MJ.
is-
Like,
Really?
it was good,
Why?
but I didn't find the fire situation believable, and it took me out of enjoying the episode. Um, like I get they're talking about the copper and the aluminum wiring being separate, and yes, that will cause fires, but does it cause giant explosions? Does it cause fires to rip so quickly? And why was electricity cut off to the building? Why were the workers still working with power on if there was a fire going on? Like it just there was a lot of holes that just built up, and it took me a little bit out of the believability. I mean, I liked the actual action and the story, but some of the background that got you there, like the foundation, I guess, didn't sit well with me. So I give it 4 out of 5 falling pieces of debris on top of Hannah.
There was only one thing that bothered me was the jumping out the window. I mean, I get that there's fire all around you and you have to go out the window to get one
Okay,
level
that scene I actually
down.
really loved
I
because
understand that.
I found it a heart-pounding scene, maybe because of the heights, but I thought that was a great scene.
I thought the effects in that were pretty good. There was a funny thing though, in the scene right before all that, where the construction workers are still in there. One of the guys on the right-hand side of the screen is doing something with a screwdriver, but he's not actually doing anything.
Yeah.
He's just holding it.
He's just kind of holding it in the air. And even Ben, when he's talking, he's screwing the handle to the board so slowly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, the whole place is about to explode. Screw that thing in. Let's go.
There was way too much talking and being calm when there's fire in the other room. There should have been a lot more freaking out and running around like crazy. Yeah.
See,
and really, if you think about it, when they're walking through the fire, and he's got like, oh, this thing is fire retardant, and we'll go walk through it. Their hair would have been so singed off of every part of their body. I mean, when you barbecue, like you lean over the barbecue when it's hot, let alone walk through like a tunnel of actual lava fire. So that's my brain.
Let's not talk about the episode that shall not be named.
The
witches.
They had to walk through slow enough for Hannah to inhale too much smoke.
Right.
MJ's talking about we didn't like the witch episode.
Oh, I love that one. Nobody liked that one. I love that one. That's weird. Okay.
Mike, I saw that you said in the notes you figured out what that song was playing on their headphones.
Yes. Yeah. So the construction workers were listening to Working Man by Rush. It's the only song in the episode, and it was on briefly, but I caught it.
That's because Benjamin Raab, one of the writers of the episode, is a huge Rush fan.
Cool. I like nice. I like Rush. Yeah,
that's he tells that story in the commentary coming out soon. I think, John. Right? Are we releasing that soon?
I don't know. Was I supposed to be editing this? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, well, soon. It'll come out soon, but it'll
come out soon.
Well, speaking of Rush,
references.
Some of us have to get going in about 40 minutes, so maybe we should start talking about the second episode.
All right, you want to do the rundown, Albie, of episode 13?
I am leaving.
Watch how I do this. Hello, Leapers, and welcome to the middle of this podcast. This Leapers Assemble. And this episode is season 2, episode 13, Against Time. And for the
lucky for some.
And for the synopsis of this episode, we go to Ryan Green.
And I was not prepared.
Really? You know me. Come on.
I should have known.
Yeah.
Man finds himself behind the wheel of a speeding stock car in 1976, but a terrifying threat from the future could sabotage the leap. Racing against the clock, Ben, Addison, and the team must risk everything to complete the mission and save Quantum Leap itself.
Wow. So this episode was written by Drew Lindo and directed by Chris Grismer. And our director of photography was, I want to say Anna MRT. And editor was Ian Mayberry. And we have a 2.5 hour interview coming out with Ian this month, hopefully. We're working on it, even though I'm going to be hopping a train. So let's go first impressions to Damon. What did you think of Against Time?
I just happen to know it's like wow, wow, wow. I really did love the. I mean,
can I, Damon? Can I interrupt you for just a second?
Sure.
So while we were all watching, my phone kept binging, bing, bing, bing. Damon, oh my God, what they doing? Oh my God, wow!
That's
so
right. I was on a
we
little
heard it
delay too.
as we were going.
Yeah, I was loving it.
Sorry.
Yeah, just like oh my God, like holy, like I don't want to curse, but like yeah, that's everything I was saying. I was like, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they did that. I also felt like I wrote this.
Yeah.
Get into that another time, but like this felt very much like some of the stuff that Mike and I have written and the stuff that we wrote in the virtual seasons. So I'm like, are they like secretly reading our stuff and copying us? I don't know. I want to cut.
That is crazy that you mentioned that, Damon, because like I honestly feel like there's so many synchronicities. How do you say that? Synchronicities in this episode with my own life and my own experiences that I honestly felt this episode was written specifically for me. So I think that's just good writing, that it really does speak personally to so many people.
Yeah. It was a lot of fan service, and felt like it was earned.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really did feel like probably the only episode from either of the two seasons that really felt like a continuation of the original Quantum Leap series. And
it can't
a lot
because of the music. The leap. I forgot what it's called.
The Leap Home.
Leap Home.
Oh yeah,
Home, something like that.
The
home
Sweet
score.
from Leap
Yeah.
Home.
Little. I think I felt some
right
moistness in my
underneath
eyes when I heard that.
As soon as that music cue hit,
gets out of that car,
I melted.
That was an amazing part of it. And then she goes on and starts talking about in the original history, and how all that happened. That was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, but how do you think Beth and Janice actually knew? I mean, yeah, Beth experienced it, but isn't it supposed to be like when Sam leaps somewhere and leaps out, everyone around him supposed to forget that he was there?
I think Al probably told.
Al told them.
Yeah.
Al told them.
But how would Al have known?
Every time Al would.
Well, he's probably in that quantum bubble.
Exactly.
Magic.
Yeah, Al remembers the stuff.
Doesn't Ziggy keep track of what was and was not changed?
Yes.
Well, there was no record of it, though.
That's true. But
they said there was no record.
happened when Addison came out of the chamber.
The new project's records suck anyway. Like, why wouldn't they have the whole DARPA file?
Right?
Why would they have half the file? What is that?
Because it was restricted and redacted.
Maybe Hannah was right there. Like whatever.
But it's a quantum code.
Well, actually, you know what I think? I think here's how I'm headcanon it. Headcanon it.
English is hard.
So I think in the original timeline, she got as far as what they have in the official DARPA file, but it's only through talking with Ben in the fire when she made the click with the love is timeless thing that she was able to solve the final equation and put that last piece in the puzzle.
Yeah.
So Ian had everything that she had done before, but she didn't solve it until Ben had leapt back.
Right. Well, as we talked about it, she died during the fire. I mean, that would explain why she didn't finish it. And they don't
even if she had,
she did finish it though. They were saying that there was a bunch of it that had been redacted that they couldn't get access to.
But wouldn't a lot of it have burned in the fire in that folder?
I was just going to say, even if she had finished it, it would have been written in the dirt and no one would have been able to see it.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
I'm just saying they should have better records.
Even if they found that written in the ashes and the dirt, they wouldn't understand it. So
One thing I'll add is I wish that they hadn't said the names at the beginning in the guest cast of Susan Deal and
100%.
Because that kind of spoiled it for me. I'm like, oh, they're coming back.
Well, I missed it, thankfully. So I was surprised when they showed up for me. But
didn't Star Wars set this huge precedent where you didn't have to put credits in the beginning anymore? And now, now we're doing it again.
Yeah.
It's a contract thing that they have to do. That was one of my only criticisms of it. And I was like, do you have to do it? And they're like, we have to do it. So I wish there was another way, but I think they still, like, every time you see Beth, they always introduce Beth in an interesting way. Like, you're not supposed to know Susan's in the episode. So I think that's for people who don't read the credits. And I need to teach myself not to read the credits.
It's hard.
But I want to know, but I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I was so excited to see Susan. And so, sorry, you go.
No, I'm just going to say my favorite line was when he's going to do the defibrillator. It's like, what are you doing? I'm resetting his heart. I am resetting his heart. It's so good.
Unplug it, plug it back in.
Yeah.
I really love seeing Susan and Georgina in this episode.
Yes.
It just added so much to it.
Yeah.
As a tech person, though, a battery is DC powered. When it jumpstart a heart, it would just burn you.
No matter how many capacitors you have.
No matter how many capacitors.
Oh, did they have a capacitor? Oh, that's right. That's what Jeff made.
Built a capacitor. Yeah.
Well, except the
While they're
capacitor.
driving in the car,
The
that's
capacitor
what he meant.
filters
Yeah.
AC to DC, though.
Right.
Okay.
It makes
Even
it.
if it's made by a quantum physicist.
Maybe they have some special
really do it.
quantum capacitor that can make AC current. Maybe.
Let's
You
just
need
talk
an
about
inverter.
Yeah.
let's just give a quick nod to the white jumpsuits and the old, I call it the Lego phone. Like,
Oh, the
those,
Oh,
yes.
Gummy bear handling.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
Yay.
just my
Was
favorite
that
thing in the
one
whole
that
world.
Morgan had made? The one that was
No.
on screen?
No,
Was it one on
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
no,
I
we
think it was- I
we
think it was
checked on
the-
that.
I think it was the one they used in the original series as a stand-in. He'll probably
Yeah.
verify that, but
Mhm.
yeah.
It's
I
got
believe
me making to want to make another resin cast of one.
it was a new replica of the old stand-in because they had to repaint it.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know why they didn't use Morgan's because
Oh, yeah.
he authorized it. I think the replica props authorized to use them, but they weren't aware of it. So there was some kind of miscommunication somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Well, Deborah
love
has
that-
two, so it's surprising that she didn't just take one with her.
Yeah. I love how even like Addison just starts smacking it and it's like, meow, we hearing all the sound effects. It's like, oh, this is
That was the best.
great.
I cheered.
That was the best. Like she read the manual for that one, and it says that in the manual. If you can't
Yes.
get it to work, just smack it.
I had a big goofy grin on my face.
Did you pick up the Quantum Leap original theme song tones when she hands over the hand link?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
I got to check that out.
Yeah, I've complained in the past that I can't always hear the
Yeah.
score very well, but it was perfect this time. It
Yeah.
was just
Agreed.
Well, I like that Janice mentioned that she has sisters, because I've complained
Yes.
previously that when she
Mhm.
first showed up that, neither her nor Beth mentioned, that there's other sisters involved. I'm like, well, and that's one thing I complained about. Well, did they wipe them out, or? And so I do like that, she mentioned, that they do have, there's 4 girls now. So I do like
Mhm.
that they're still there. They're acknowledged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally.
Not everyone follows in their father's footsteps, so it does make sense that they might just have their own lives outside of this
Yeah.
shit show.
There
of
was
quantum
nothing to
leaping.
contradict their existence. So
Yeah.
Right.
I always
Mhm.
thought they were just there, but they weren't actually anything relevant to the story.
I didn't expect
Right.
to see him, but when they were talking and they were saying how Janice, she's lost contact with her mom and her friends. To me, it would have been appropriate to say, well, she lost contact with her mom and her sisters and her friends.
Yeah.
And
Well-
when they didn't mention the sisters there, that's got me wondering. Yeah, I didn't expect to see any of them, but yeah, at least I thought they should have had a mention there at least.
This
Yeah,
is one of
so-
the reasons we need a season 3, 4, 5, so we can get a Thanksgiving episode where all the sisters are around the table with Magic and everybody from
Yes.
Project
Yeah.
Quantum Leap, and everyone knows about Project Quantum Leap except for like 3 of the sisters. Hijinks ensue.
Janice actually makes a mistake though when she's telling the story. She says Beth waited for Al. They got married and had 4 girls, me and my
Right.
sister. But they were already married.
Yes.
A little
Oh.
that a
here.
Well,
flaw?
maybe they renewed
Oh.
their vows.
Maybe she's the youngest. So she would have been real little when all of that was happening. She probably just,
Mhm.
hmm
but that was kind of interesting.
I'm going to
Right.
think about that for a while now.
Does
Okay,
anybody
Brian
know-
ruined it. Somebody fix it quick.
Sorry.
Does anybody know the significance of the license plate? It's 708 on the mom's car.
Yep,
708
QPL.
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 Well, yeah, QPL. Yeah,
I looked and looked. I
708
couldn't find
something.
anything that remotely fit that.
Quantum Project Leap.
Well, yeah.
They just got it mixed up.
But what's the 708?
Oh,
Well, it could be
that's what we're
season 7, episode 8. Is there a season 7? Because if you count the original series and the new
That'd be this
series,
season.
yeah.
This
So
would
what's
be
the 8th
this season.
episode
Season
of
7, Nomads.
Nomads?
Oh.
Maybe,
Oh.
maybe because I
She
know for a
does
while they
bring
were
it
calling
up.
it.
Yeah.
Just bring it up at the end that he's
That's
a
right.
nomad.
At the end, yeah.
Mm.
So
I
maybe
feel
that's
like
it.
I feel like we're all Taylor Swifting right now. You know?
I don't know
That
what
was
that means.
that was definitely a kiss in the dark. I went down a rabbit hole. What other things did we love about this episode? Did we like the black Fermi suit?
No.
No,
No, it's just like, oh, he's evil. It must be a black suit.
I love
He would
that.
only have white
You know,
suits in stock. Come on.
At least he didn't have a
Yeah, but he-
goatee. You
He's
know,
a billionaire. He brought his own Fermi
He
suit.
made his own suit.
right.
He's like, I don't want this.
When I saw
Project
that, I was
crap.
like, yes.
You know what's weird is
He's got an Armani for me.
didn't I write in one of my stories that was it that I'd say that Zoe was in a black Fermi suit when
Yes,
Sam
you did.
I think so.
there. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. I don't know why I did that, but I was just like, it seemed like, blue, red, opposites, like white, black. I don't know. That's where I was going with it when I wrote it, I think. So
It was just a bit too on the nose, I think,
Mhm.
in this episode.
It was, but he was an overtop villain. He was a overtop villain from jump. So
I used to work.
Well,
in
he had to be
Yeah.
over the top to make his point across.
Mhm.
I used to work in
Right.
Silicon Valley,
Mhm.
and he does. Aside from the fact that my CEO wasn't a time traveling supervillain, his
No,
look, his
sure.
demeanor,
That
the
you
way
know
he
of.
talked. Yeah, I know. Everything about him did remind me of my CEO. So
Interesting.
Mhm.
Maybe he was a time traveling villain. You don't know.
Maybe.
We get to on the weekends.
Mhm.
I think a lot of leaders are crazy people, and it's just if people happen to follow them, they become successful or not.
Mhm.
yeah.
So that's an example of that.
Jen dying. How about that one? That was
Yeah.
That's the sacrifice. Ben
Yeah.
Magic
Mhm.
asked, "How far are we willing to sacrifice?" And she was the
Mhm.
one. She made the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
hmm Now, of course, I
Um,
figured she would come back to life, but still.
My wife definitely cried
Mhm.
when that happened. Jen is her
She must
favorite
be
character.
behind.
Yeah, she came home like a half hour ago, so I'm pointing at her. If you want.
Yeah, that one I wasn't sure about. I wasn't sure she was coming back. I didn't know how
Yeah.
they were going to reverse the death. Like,
I'm glad they did, but
yes.
Yeah. Well, I
So that-
figured that whole
Hi, Jen is my girlfriend, and
you disappeared. You have
Oh.
to be a little closer.
Well-
There you go.
Jen is my girlfriend. She's not allowed to die. I did cry.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I want a number.
the whole butterfly effect thing was,
Oh, you mean the wind? They came
the
out of
wind
nowhere.
blowing and everybody's and the explosions and
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
well,
very-
MJ, you were asking a question before we started recording. What was the question again?
So my question was, whenever the butterfly effect happens and hair is blowing everywhere and it's great and it's wonderful and everything gets reset. Addison comes out of the accelerator chamber and Magic and Jen and Ian are standing there, but she comes out of the Project Quantum Leap accelerator. Where she went into was in Janice's accelerator.
Mhm.
So now we have
So
movement of mass.
We have
you
movement
too.
of mass,
You're
right?
right.
We have the movement of people. And what does that all negate now that the butterfly effect happened?
I personally
Did Janice
subscribe.
actually build her other accelerator chamber? Now that Gideon is made the chip free of charge and he's the big donor
Donor.
donor for the Project Quantum Leap.
See, I think she did because
all of this stuff from the mid-season, from the first season is all negated.
See, she was working on on her own accelerator and imaging chamber and all that, independent of Gideon. She was doing that because she got left out of the Quantum Leap project. So she was doing it on her own anyway. So I don't think.
Presumably, she still has it regardless.
Yeah.
Whether she's using it right now or not.
Yeah, all that stuff was still there. They just didn't have a need to use it in the new timeline.
Right. Yeah. There's something really nice in one of the
people changing places.
Well, I think that goes
to the timeline changed, and so in the new timeline, Addison just went into her regular. She did it the way she normally does.
They got there the way they would normally. Just they didn't go to that place because they still were in our project headquarters.
Yeah, there's something really nice in one of the comic books that I tend to subscribe to. I think it's the one called Waiting, and it's just basically Sam leaps into this old service station in the desert. He's got nothing to do, so he and Al just talk for hours, what it seems, and they just go through a whole bunch of theories that they've got. And one of them is all about paradoxes. And I think it's Al says, even though we can't logically wrap our heads around it, the universe just isn't going to allow a paradox to happen. So you can just rest assured that whatever's going to happen, everything's still going to be all right. So
I always subscribe personally to every time there's a difference, it's a new reality. The other reality still exists, and you've now split into a new timeline where it is the way it is now, which is kind of sad because that means you're actually leaving behind all the people that are in that shitty reality. But it's the only way to make it make sense to our little 4D minds can comprehend.
The Rick and Morty formula.
Now Addison and Ben are in the good reality.
But not all the people they grew up with. Although with that being said, technically every time they step out of the chamber, it's a completely new set of the whole team.
That's true.
It's not because they're in the quantum bubble. They're not affected by it.
Unless we put them in the quantum bubble. And for whatever reason, they weren't in the quantum bubble this time.
Yeah. Well, this was the one thing that I was trying to figure out, the timeline, was the quantum chip itself was created by Gideon to find Ben during those 3 years he went missing, right?
Right.
Yes.
That was before Ben met Hannah. So he had to have existed before Ben ever changed Hannah's life, right?
Effect can predate cause, I believe.
Not necessarily.
His motive was different. So he was looking for Ben because he hated him the first time. This time he was looking for Ben because he
wanted to help him.
Ben.
But Damon's saying the chip was created before Ben leapt and met Hannah in 1949, right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. No, because 1949
what did
comes
Ian
before
use?
now.
What did Ian
cyclical
use to find Ben, the chip? That he was Rachel's boss, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was before.
So now we're back to the futuring.
Well, my question is,
no,
I don't recall.
I don't understand your question. I don't understand. I'm missing it. I'm missing it.
Did we find Rachel's boss's name prior to that? Did they mention his name? So my theory is that it was a different person that created the chip. And then when Ben leapt back to 1949 and met Rachel, Hannah, time changed, and then it became Gideon.
Sure.
That's what I was wondering.
Somewhere along the line. Maybe not right then.
There's no reason to believe that Gideon made the chip specifically to find Ben. He could have just been making it because he's got this really powerful company and they want to make powerful stuff. And Ian could have just thought, this might actually help us. What I'm wondering is, now that Gideon has always been their donor in this new timeline, they probably would have had this chip for the whole 3 years that Ben was missing. So shouldn't they have been able to find Ben sooner? I mean, I know that they can't erase everything that happened in that year.
There's no reason to presume that because they had the chip sooner, they would find Ben sooner.
Or when did Gideon create the chip?
Yeah.
And maybe Gideon didn't create the chip until
Ian asked for it. I presume
until
he didn't create
2025.
Yeah. I presume that Gideon created the chip because Ian asked for it. I figured the things played out the same way. He's like, oh yeah, sure, you can have a chip.
And if they didn't, they wouldn't be where we find them. So it had to happen. We would be in a reality where they didn't find Ben, and the project would be.
This is where you needed, with me writing the story I wrote, where it was like, this happened in timeline A, this happened in this timeline, and this timeline, and this time. Well, I wrote a whole chapter. I was like, I explained it all. But they only have like 45 minutes to tell a story. So
yes.
In our delirium, in the 11.5-hour live stream we did, where we watched every episode back to back to back to back, we came up with the theory that there's at least 2 timelines, and one is the bonsai tree timeline, and one is the other office plant timeline, the yellow plant.
Other office plant.
So that's how you can tell the different timelines, which plant Magic has.
See,
which one's the good timeline? The bonsai?
We don't know.
My one major complaint with the ending, and it's what I see a lot of times on time travel shows, is that they know they're in a time travel project.
You're about to say what I'm. Yeah,
probably. Yeah. And Hannah comes, or Addison comes out. Oh, you're alive. Are you okay? Do you need to see a doctor? You know that she's in a chamber that Ben's out there changing time. Why are you surprised that she remembers a timeline you guys don't?
Yeah.
And I say Quantum Leap isn't the only show that I've seen that on other time travel shows. That are you okay? Why are you thinking that this person's not okay when you know you freaking work for a time travel project? That's the whole thing. Why? That always blows my mind when they do. Are you okay? Didn't you see a doctor? Do you need to see a doctor? Do you forget where you work? That's my one major complaint.
Problem with the ending. I have one problem with the ending, and that's now that there are two leapers who are in love with each other. I want Quantum Leap to be Quantum Leap, not Quantum Romantic Leap.
I would like to have her look, because that could be interesting. Especially, I was on one of these Facebook groups and they were talking about, well, maybe they leap into lovers, or they leap into brother and sister. I would like to see if they leap like mortal enemies and have to deal, with the fact that the two people hate each other, yet these two are in love with each other. I think that'd be an interesting before they bring one of them back.
Drew had mentioned like the possibility, like one of them reached into like a mom and the other like is their kid. Like stuff could happen.
It could,
or maybe they.
I think it's best we just don't touch that though.
I'm just saying, like maybe they're doing separate parts of the same.
Right.
Like, their storylines are interacting, but they don't necessarily interact with each other. Like
I think it opens up for more storylines that you would need two leapers to like coordinate to accomplish the mission. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Do you think with Addison there? Do you think it was the case that the code kind of malfunctioned and just sent Addison without doing the swap? Or do you think that it actually did work and Addison got swapped with a leaper, just not Ben?
I think the code worked as intended, but everybody misunderstood what the code was supposed to do.
Yeah, I think they assumed it was a swap code.
Yeah, but Hannah was saying that your home isn't, a place that's where you live or whatever.
She called
that's why
she called it a means of triggering a temporal realignment. And Ian was saying that it needs to fix on a constant. And that constant was not necessarily in our time. That constant is the person with whom Ben is quantumly entangled, aka Addison. So I'm thinking of it like they're two magnets, right? Yeah. So either they were expecting it to pull Ben to Addison, but in fact it pulled Addison to Ben, or it could have pulled them both somewhere in the middle. But basically it was because of the whole nomad thing, it was to pull those two together. because that's where home is.
Right.
Yeah, home
So
isn't a place; it's a person.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it worked the way she intended it to work because she understands.
And God Time Fate
love
is
is like
not
a
the
force.
person that's doing it. It's the accelerator.
Accelerator.
I have a theory about GTF here. In the original series, it's kind of implied, or maybe it's the books, that Sam is the one choosing his own, subconsciously, consciously, whatever.
The last episode, Mirror.
I think it's still Sam. I think Sam is GTF even for Ben. Now, season 1, Ben chose his own spiral for a specific purpose, right? But then once that was over, we're back to question mark. Why are these leaps being chosen? Why is GTF putting Ben with Hannah over and over and over again? I still think it's Sam.
Interesting.
What did we think of the leap itself, like the race car story, and all that?
It almost felt like a second thought.
Yeah, I was saying
It was a means to an end.
Yeah,
It was,
but it worked.
It was, but yeah, but I think that's okay. Like
it was
a very simple
42-minute leap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It was.
GTF chose it because there was too much other going around. Sorry, I don't know if we swear on this podcast. So much stuff going around.
We do now.
Watch your fucking language on this podcast.
Yeah. I've been trying to be so careful, but I'm a sailor here.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much.
You just added work to John's edit.
What?
But yeah, it was the perfect leap because it needed so little intervention.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool that they were considering, look, just destroy the kid's work. If he doesn't have the work, he can't go up to become Gideon. Just destroy it. That's the easy way. Just do it. And I mean, obviously, he's not going to want to. Yeah, obviously, he's not going to want to. And he's not going to want to have more reason for Gideon to. Well, Jeffrey, I suppose, to resent him too. So I almost thought it was kind of funny. Yeah.
I almost thought it's the third way. It's like there's these two options and the leaper.
As like MJ was saying,
the Luke Skywalker option. I like the thing.
As MJ was saying, both Sam and Ben are very much the same. They'll here's two options, and they're like, well, no, here's a better option.
Yeah.
So
it was perfectly Quantum Leap. That's what Quantum Leap is. I think that's why we loved it so much, was how Ben figured out how to fix everything.
And it's exactly what Ben said. He said, Quantum Leap isn't about power. It's we're supposed to help people.
Yeah. Changing the whole trajectory.
Was the whole point of Quantum Leap from the very beginning.
Right.
That's right.
And all the way through. That's why that's why the virtual seasons is still going on. So
yeah, he changes the whole trajectory of his life, and that's Quantum Leap is. Yeah. Sorry, Andrew.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I do have one very big complaint about the last scene. Why doesn't Addison have Swiss cheese brain? Why does she know who Ben is? Why does she know what's going on?
Yeah, she doesn't. She doesn't have those.
That was her first leap.
I actually have a reason for that. We saw quite a few times in the original series that the Swiss cheesing can be overcome, at least partially, if the leaper leaps with a purpose. Like we saw Bingo leaping back so that he can stop Chip from killing Marcy. We saw Zoe leaping back to try and kill Sam and Aaliyah. And we saw it a few times. There was Sam leaping into Al to save him from going off the edge of the cliff. It seems like if the leaper has a purpose when they're leaping, then at least partly the Swiss cheesing is counteracted. So Addison leapt with a purpose. She was trying to swap with Ben or trying to get Ben back. So because she had this purpose, it makes sense that the Swiss cheesing would be reduced.
Also rack it up possibly do changes in the software, changes in the hardware. I mean, this is a whole different timeline, if you will, or reality, or however you want to, however you think of it. And maybe it's, because Ben didn't seem to have it as bad as Sam did.
Right.
And he got his memory back.
Ben got his memory back and kind of kept most of it for the most part. Sam, only when it was convenient.
And I would have to I'd have to rewatch the first episode, but I think Addison was a little bit surprised that he did have Swiss cheese. Like it wasn't like totally unexpected.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It's like, oh, okay. Well, we
they said it
knew
was a
this might happen.
possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't. It wasn't necessarily that they knew that wasn't necessarily a definite outcome.
And that's why I think it was an update to the software and the hardware from the original project to the LA, wherever it is, project. Is that the updates they've made to it? It's not as pronounced as it was originally.
To answer my own question as well, it is true that Addison was the one preparing for the leap to begin with. Perhaps that also included, some sort of mental fortitude to prevent against Swiss cheesing that Ben never got.
Mental training or something.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Sam and Ben both leap early?
Yeah,
before it was ready. And Addison leapt much later, where maybe they did finish everything.
I mean, Sam jumped in because they were going to shut it off, right? They were like, He's like, oh, no, too bad. I'm in. Sorry.
What are you gonna do?
Addison also had some military training too, so we don't know all what training she's been through.
Except resist torture and mind tricks and stuff like that, which kind of helps, as someone was saying, strengthen her mind. Yeah.
And wasn't Addison the first person that had permission or authorization to leap?
Right.
Yeah.
She had the training. Gideon mentioned that specifically, that Ben had zero training.
And who knows what kind of training that might be.
Yeah. Underqualified. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe in some of those updates, they can have Ziggy's voice come back.
I would like that.
Yeah.
We're going to have to finish up soon, guys. Because it's nearly 4:00.
All right. Final thoughts. Wrapping up all the final thoughts. Let's go with Mike first. Final thoughts on Against Time, the season, hopefully, finale of Quantum Leap.
Yes.
Knock on wood.
A great way to wrap up season 2 and throw us into season 3. I really did enjoy this one. It felt like Quantum Leap, as we said, and really wrapped up everything that season 2 built up to in a successful way. There were times during the season where I wasn't happy or certain about where they were going, but I think the season as a whole now will make a whole lot more sense upon a rewatch.
Out of 5, what rating would you give it with a silly object from the episode?
Oh, how about 5 708 QPL license plates out of 5?
All right. MJ, your final thoughts and ratings on Against Time.
On Against Time, I'd give it closer to a 9 out of
5.
I mean, out of 5, because this is the one episode that finally brought everything together. It wrapped everything up and kind of summed everything up with what Hannah said, was everything you do for others is a gift. And if everybody did the same thing that Ben does, it would make a better world, better place to be in. So, and I think that's what Sam was trying to do as being a Boy Scout. So it helped wrap it up for me.
I like that. And Aaron. Final thoughts, rating out of 5.
No, I agree with MJ that I'm going to give it 9 car battery defibrillators out of 5.
You took mine.
And again, the only thing that's stopping it from being a complete 10 was that whole line of dialogue, like I said at the end, them questioning Addison's sanity when she, that's the only thing to me that stopped it from being a perfect episode. I love the fact, they brought in the original hand link, the music they played. Like I said, I was all happy. I was sitting there in the, watching in bed and giggling like a little schoolgirl. My daughter's like, "What the hell?" But you tied the whole season together. It was just, it was fantastic.
Awesome. And Michelle, final thoughts and rating out of 5 silly objects.
I'm gonna have to give it probably 4.5 out of 5. Just because I don't like cliffhangers at all. I'm one of those that wants it wrapped up in a nice, pretty bow before they shut it down, because if they don't come back, I don't have closure. So that for me is, I just don't like that. So out of silly objects, I can't wrap my brain around it right now. So I'm just gonna say, out of cliffhangers, a 4 out of 5. Give me a pretty little bow.
See,
and I just hope that they don't come back with a screen that says "Ben Song never come."
I was gonna ask her, would you prefer a screen,
especially without the last
and
Gene
Addison?
song?
Never
It's Ben's son never came home.
Yeah,
Ben's got a son.
I thought it was wrapped up in a bow. Like, yes, they keep leaping, but that's like the end of any Superman movie. Superman's still gonna be flying off and being Superman.
Yeah. Right. It could be an ending if NBC's be stupid and doesn't give us a third season.
Let's hope not. Let's be very positive and trusting in NBC until we're not anymore, and then we'll unleash our wrath.
And I hope everyone
write those letters if everyone
is writing those letters.
Write the letters. Make the phone calls.
They're not
Send an email.
Have it just running on your TV all the time on Peacock. Just stream it.
Hayden, final thoughts and ratings on the season finale of season 2, Against Time.
Yeah, well, I would have been a lot kinder to season 2 if it had been like these 2 episodes. I sincerely hope that they learn to make season 3 like this, because they'll bring more people in and they'll be pleasing a lot of the current fans. Yeah, I'm going to give it 5 original gummy bear handlings out of 5.
All right, John Irons, final thoughts and ratings.
I thought these 2 episodes were great. I agree with what everyone says. It was it truly channeled the spirit of Quantum Leap. I will give it a perfect, these 2 episodes, not the whole season. The whole season I had some issues. But I like the season overall. These 2 episodes, I will give a perfect 10 out of 10 because there are 2 leapers.
Awesome. And Brian Green, final thoughts and ratings on Against Time.
I loved it. Best one of the season. I agree with Hayden. This was what we wanted. There was a lot of fan service in it, which I loved. Even though the leap was insignificant for the most part, it fit, it still worked, it still felt like Quantum Leap. I'm going to give it 12 out of 5 rivers of time.
I like it. Okay, and my co-host from Laserdisc Flips, Andrew.
So it was intense. I liked the amped up drama. I think that's very fitting for a season finale. I think all shows that are classified as dramas need to ramp up their drama more on the end caps of the seasons and not throughout. I love seeing more of Hannah. I give it 5 out of 5 rescue axes to chop down an unlocked door.
Ooh, love it. Okay, Damon, final thoughts and ratings.
Yeah, both episodes together, I really like that. It really felt like everything came full circle with the whole quantum entanglement thing and the callbacks to the first episode, and it did kind of feel like a complete story of their, of what we've been seeing on the journey with Ben and Addison, and just all the great moments in the finale. I just, like the last one, I just loved it. I was giddy as a schoolboy watching it all. And I think I give it 5 out of 5 black Fermi suits.
Ooh, I like that. 5 out of 5. For me, this episode was perfect. Like Damon was saying, I felt this was written for me. My father liked stock car racing. There's a picture of him in black and white when he was younger with a race car similar to this episode with the same exact number on the car. Just, I loved everything about it. I can't really fault it for anything. And I watched it, I think it was like my 5th or 6th time tonight. And it still hits me. The emotion every single time hits me, which means I know this is going to be one the ones I go back to often, like in the original series, like the Leap Home or something like that, or MIA, where you want to feel that. I get this from it, and it's just, I think, perfectly written, perfectly directed, perfectly everything. I'm going to give it probably my highest mark so far for the new series, and go with a gift basket full of remote control bingo cards with Tom badges inside them, also containing a Carly Farmer t-shirt in the trunk. And the amount I'm going to give those is infinite. I'm going to give it an infinity out of 5.
Infinity is not a number, Albie.
Well, I don't know that because
his rating is limitless.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
All right. So it would just, I think, hopefully this is not the end of the new series. If it is,
Please.
it would be a tragedy because they are so on their game right now and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
They finally got it. They finally got it.
I think if it was to end on like a not so good episode and not everybody loved it, it would have been like a downer. So if it does end, at least we have that feeling like they did when they canceled Firefly, like they didn't know what they had. So either way, we got that. But write your letters, send your emails, make your phone calls, send in plush peacocks to NBC and hockey pucks. I think that's what we're doing. So I'm not sure. So I think that wraps up a good show. And Damon, thank you for including the Quantum Leap podcast, Quantum Leap After Show in your show. And thank you for everybody getting together.
Yep. Thank you for agreeing to cross us over and have a whole bash.
Megapod.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to do it. It was just trying to get like 10 schedules all to synchronize, and it finally did. So I'm so happy. Yeah. So for the Quantum Leap Podcast's Super Show Assembly, I'm Albie.
I always got lost.
Andrew.
I'm Aaron.
Right.
Yeah.
Michelle.
Mike.
And I'm Damon.
That everybody?
I think so.
All right, and we'll see you next time.
Hang on. No, it's not. But did MJ go?
Yeah,
I did.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm Hayden, and Dr. Ben's son hopefully will return home.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So we'll see you at the end of season 3. Yeah. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Bye.